Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the VSNPRO podcast. My name is Ozzy. I'm joined here today by Jared.
Hello.
Say hey, Jared. Okay, you already did. That's
Sorry.
fine. Jared, tell us a little bit about yourself. This is obviously a tech channel and a tech podcast, so in terms of technology, what is your exposure and what would you call yourself?
When it comes to tech exposure, I like to keep myself exposed to like pretty much everything, but there's only so much a person can handle. So I like to try to stay on top of everything, but pretty much I deal a lot with hardware, some software, and some networking stuff. I have a home lab set up at home with some prosumer gear, but I don't really have a good title for myself.
So, and by a little bit of networking stuff, I mean to me, just from knowing you for as long as I have, your networking knowledge is very extensive from my point of view. I'm very consumer technology, right?
Yeah.
But you know infinitely more about networking than I do.
I wouldn't go infinitely, but I do get more exposure to it at my day job, so I am a little bit more familiar with some of the more complex topics.
So very in tune with all of the current technologies and the way the infrastructure works. Then
Yeah, I tried to be.
great. Well, I want to throw you for a ringer right away. We're going to talk about planned obsolescence right off the bat, which is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for the audio listeners and for the people who don't know, planned obsolescence is the concept that this is often applied to smartphone manufacturers, but it can really be applied to any manufacturer. It's the idea that technology growth is held back in order to sell more products. So, first of all, do you think that's actually a thing?
Oh,
That's the biggest question.
that's not even a question. Like you see it everywhere in everything. Um, there's this great meme I see around where it's like a 1960s refrigerator that has like the terrible like chrome handles and whatnot. And it's like a ugly like puke yellow or like a puke green or something. They're ugly as sin, but it like stuff that was made back then does not die. Like it will outlive all of us. Meanwhile,
Oh yeah.
nowadays everything is meant to only last tops like 10 years. You see it in phones, computers, even appliances nowadays.
So I guess when I think of planned obsolescence, I think, like I said, smartphones is one that people commonly put it towards. But I agree with that. Things like cars, people talk about a lot. They just don't make them like they used to,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And they last forever, and they're so user replaceable and all of that stuff. But I think of smartphones because, or I guess this thought could be applied to more than smartphones.
Yeah, but
But the idea
smartphones.
that we could have a lot of cooler technology right now, like I don't know, the screens that are wrapping around like the cameras and everything now on the newer Samsung phones, newer Pixel phones, stuff
Mhm.
like that. We could have had that a lot earlier, or we could even have a much better implementation now if it wasn't for planned obsolescence.
I don't know if I fully agree with that. I feel like planned obsolescence is less about pushing the barrier and more about getting people to buy new things. Like, for instance, phones, as the prime example, only last a certain amount of time, and often phone manufacturers will release software updates or whatnot that degrade a device's performance. So you go and buy the newest model.
Well, if a smartphone manufacturer comes out with the greatest thing right away, so say they like Apple went from the iPhone, what was it, 6 with the big chin and forehead and everything on it, to I don't know, something even better than we have now with a screen that wraps around the phone and has touch buttons and all of that crazy futuristic stuff we're talking about. I mean, I don't think that they would put it out right away like that, because selling it in smaller implementations, smaller increments, or smaller upgrades to the
Hmm.
technology would sell a lot more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know. That's what I think when I think of planned obsolescence. So you think that is not the case at all.
Correct.
It's
I
simply about what can we sell more of right now.
Yeah, I think that's what planned obsolescence is. I think phone manufacturers do what you are saying and say and release things incrementally better in order to get more sales. But planned obsolescence means planned basically getting a new phone, essentially, or a new device in general. So that may be part of the releasing newer, more advanced features and hardware incrementally. But I feel like planned obsolescence is more meant for like just devices getting slow or are unusable to a point that you need to upgrade.
Well, that leads great into our second point. And the second point that I have here today is that the European Union is making an effort to make everything replaceable by 2027, I think.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
So, have you heard about that? Did you read about that?
I have heard about it. I saw a couple of articles on it, but I didn't do a real deep dive in it. But the European Union's been making a lot of good pushes on all these electronics companies, which have been largely unregulated for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they're really motivated by e-waste and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is,
I mean, of course, it means great things for us because we like replacing our batteries in our phones, right?
oh yeah,
But it sounds like they're more along the lines of thinking this is going to create a lot less e-waste. There's going to be less batteries piling up that we can't do anything with. Devices are going to last longer in people's hands, stuff like that.
yeah, that makes sense. And it will, because if it's just your battery that's bad and the rest of the phone is totally fine, you're saving on all of that as well. All that gold and cobalt and all the other components and whatnot that largely just get tossed in landfills, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you think about it, the battery is really like the least developed part of our consumer technology, isn't it?
Yeah, they really haven't changed all that much. Like lithium ion batteries, I mean, lithium ion is a standard now. There were some different what do I want to call it? Elemental combinations like nickel metal hydride or other things.
Right.
But lithium ion's pretty much been the standard for a long time, and a lot of the quote unquote battery technology has more been on developing efficiencies in the other components that draws from the battery, like screens or cellular modems or any other components, really.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I think we were talking a little bit about this in the last podcast. I think I looked it up. The lithium ion battery was first invented in like the 1980s,
That sounds right. I don't have a source in front of me, so don't quote me on it, but that sounds
and
about
then
right.
I think this is all from Wikipedia, but the I think it also said the lithium ion battery was popularized by Sony in the early 1990s. So that's when we really started using it a lot.
Yeah, and there have been some like changes to it, but not really in the cell phone realm. I mean, if you look at like Tesla or other electric vehicle manufacturers, there have been some tweaks to it and to the packaging and whatnot, but largely the underlying uh, construction of the battery hasn't changed much since then.
For 30 years, almost, or for over 30 years.
Yeah,
For over 30 years, we've been using the same battery technology, and that's pretty crazy in terms of the pace that technology moves.
Yeah, definitely. You would think that since it's so integral in so many facets nowadays, especially since you see power banks and like Tesla solar walls and whatnot that utilize these batteries, you would think we would have developed a more efficient way to use it or even a better combination so far.
And things are fine now, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, we're concentrating a lot on the efficiency of everything using that battery, but I think we can only go so far on the same technology before we hit a big plateau.
Oh yeah, definitely, because there's only so much you can do with physics and chemistry and whatnot, and if the same chemical reaction will happen the same time if the same in, like if the same uh, variables are there. So without introducing other variables or like other um, elemental concoctions or whatnot, really there's only so far we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to see like the same battery technology used for so long. So, it brings up a question. You've obviously had a lot of smartphones in your time and you care a lot about what smartphone you use.
Hmm.
What what was your favorite battery replaceable smartphone you've ever had?
Oh, God, that's a tough question.
I know. I know. I'm sorry to ask it, but it's a good one.
If I would have had time to prepare, I could I could have done some paring down and whatnot. But honestly, I don't know if it was my favorite because it was a good phone, or if it was just because of the time that I grew up with it. But I had this ancient Motorola phone. I don't remember what it was called. It wasn't even like a popular um like build. It was like it wasn't a razor. It was some.
Was it a smartphone or was this back
Yeah,
like BlackBerry days?
yeah, no, this was about 2013
Oh, okay.
ish. So yeah, it was an Android smartphone, but I can't remember what it was called.
Was it a Droid?
Maybe it was a Droid. It may have.
Droid.
I think it actually was. Now that you say that, I think it was. It may. Yeah, I think it was like a Droid Mini.
Oh man, those things were cool though. You remember the commercials that Droid
Oh my
had when
God,
the
that
Droid does?
those commercials were just peak. Oh, but looking back on it, it's so ugly. Like,
No, it is. It really is. But no, but for the time when everything was like super like going after that industrial design, it it was a good phone. I mean, it certainly looked more modern than some other options at the time. I mean, go and look at 2013 smartphones.
oh yeah, they're, and it also makes me cringe at how just basic the Android operating system was back then, and we've come so far.
We have. So my favorite was I don't know if you remember this phone, but the LG V10. I think it was like 2015 or 16 that phone came out. It had metal rails and it was a metal phone or maybe it was the V20.
Because the V10 has a rear fingerprint reader, but it does have like the metal rails on the
No,
side.
I think I'm thinking of the V20. It's the one with the unibody aluminum design, but it had that button on the side that you could press and the metal back would pop off and you could replace the battery that way.
Oh yeah, that's a classic like Android phone.
I loved that phone. The screen was huge and it had that little tiny second screen on the top that you could use to like switch apps and stuff.
Uh
It was fantastic. I loved that phone.
huh. Oh my God, just looking at these old phones and it's like, yeah, we used to love these things, but now you look back and it's like, ew.
Well, I don't know. I look back on the pre 2020 smartphone designs with a lot of nostalgia because
Yeah.
we used to do a lot more crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
LG used to be in there, Motorola used to be in there, not just making these standard cookie cutter phones. Gosh, words.
Y-
Cookie cutter phones that just look the same and are incremental updates every year. We used to try things
Yeah. I
like that second screen on the V10 that I was talking about.
Yeah, or I think my Droid Mini had a integrated kickstand, like a little metal like bar or whatnot in it that you could literally just like push it open and then you can prop it up on its side.
See, that was awesome when big manufacturers tried to do that stuff.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, and you wouldn't catch any of them doing it today.
Yeah, no, because if I mean back then if you like they weren't afraid to try and have something flop. And then they're just like, well, we're not going to put that on our next model.
I know. Maybe that's why LG doesn't make phones anymore.
Oh god, I kind of miss LG. They like to just try things that no one else did, or they did things a little bit differently than everyone else did, and it was interesting to see what happened.
They were always just a little bit behind the top dogs, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I feel like Motorola was huge, like just a behemoth for so many years, and then slowly over time, as like the smartphones came into play, they kind of lagged behind, and I think they went the way of LG as well. There's like we can't compete with Samsung and Apple and whatnot, so we're just gonna drop out. But Motorola had their incredible commercial and like professional and just normal radio sales, like the not walkie talkies but like actual handheld radios for like semis and for like events and just lots of other things. Motorola had their hands in that pie as well to fall back on.
I mean, I kind of disagree. So, Motorola, in my opinion, found their footing in a different part of the smartphone market. They found out that they couldn't really compete with like Samsung and Apple and Google with all the top tier flagships that everyone was buying.
Yeah.
So they started releasing cheaper phones, right? Like the Motorola G, the Moto E, the Moto X, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That were good, but they're at a really competitive price too.
Yeah, I guess that's true because you go and look at any of the anyone that just wants a bare bones smartphone to like get calls and make texts, you tend to see Motorola's or LG's still, but it's
Right.
it's primarily Motorola's.
If you don't care about camera and you don't have a huge budget to spend, Motorola was kind of the way to go.
Yeah, they did change their focus from the trying to compete with the top dogs, just being like, hey, we're okay with second place.
Yeah. And I think it stands to reason that Motorola's still around. They're still making smartphones.
Oh yeah,
LG isn't.
this is true. This is very true.
So yeah, I mean, there were so many cool devices back then, man.
Yeah, and
I mean,
every year was almost a showcase to see. Oh, this manufacturer came out with this kooky new thing, or like I mean, for the V20 with the little screen on top, I've never seen any other smartphone with that.
do you remember the Amazon Fire Phone?
No, I don't. Did they make a phone?
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember when. Wait, when was that released?
Oh my god!
Yeah, Amazon made a phone
It says
called the Amazon Fire
2014.
Phone. Yeah. It was,
Discontinued a year later.
yes, it was really bad.
Oh, it looks like the most generic. Wait, what is this? Why does it have? What is this? Did it have 5 cameras?
Yes, yes, it did. And the reason
Front-facing
it had,
cameras?
yes, yes, it had a camera at each corner of the display
What?
in order to track your face, kind of like with Face ID we have now on the Pixels and
iPhones?
iPhones. But it was to create a 3D screen effect not for authentication or anything like that. It was so it could track the position of your face, so to know which way you're looking at the display, to create this sort of experience of looking through your smartphone's window and into the display.
That's insane.
It is. And it sounds really cool, but it was awful.
Oh
It
yeah.
gave people headaches. It didn't really work that well. And the phone was kind of bad. It ran Android, but
Yeah.
it ran off of the Amazon App Store, right?
Oh,
So it didn't
gross. Yeah, just like their
yeah.
tablets. Oh my
Yep.
god.
So it
Oh,
didn't have access to like any of the good apps.
that interface is
So no one bought the thing. It flopped so hard they discontinued it in a year.
that's insane.
Also, I think it was an exclusive. Yeah, it was an AT&T
Oh yeah, right
exclusive
here.
phone.
Yeah. Something like the design, durability of the glass. Cheap headphones should at least be this great. Okay, well, apparently they ship with good headphones, but beyond that, oh,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
insane.
surprised you didn't know about that.
See, I don't know everything. I will not profess to know everything. Oh, this is crazy. I'm gonna look more into this
Yeah,
later. This is
I
hilarious.
kind of really want a Fire phone.
Just to say you have one.
I do.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah, 2014, Amazon came out with the Amazon Fire phone. Flopped so hard they discontinued it in a year. But they tried something crazy,
Yep,
right? That
yep.
was my whole point of bringing that up. Is they tried to do this whole 3D screen effect. There's a train going by my house right now, and so that's really great.
Peak recording hour.
Oh, I love this so much.
But I mean, luckily it. I mean, Amazon is a huge company, so even back in 2014, they were still massive. So they had plenty of stuff to fall back on. It's not like this was their only attempt, their only avenue of like revenue generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But and they had like their tablets and stuff too, like you
Yeah,
said. So they kind of just brought that experience over to their phones.
and thank God they
And
didn't bring the
I
cameras.
I know. They might have.
No, I have not seen. I mean, they may have used the same sensor, but they didn't have five cameras on it. It's just your typical one front facing and one world facing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they released a tablet to go alongside of this phone back in 2014 though. That was like their highest end option or whatever.
That wouldn't surprise
That
me either.
that really went hard into the marketing with those sensors and 3D effect and all that garbage.
And it's funny to think about like trying to do all that like advanced 3D rendering and whatnot on that old hardware.
I know on 2014 SoCs.
Yeah,
Oh
I
man.
mean, phones nowadays could probably do that like relatively easily, but back then, oof. It only had 2 gigs of RAM. Oh my god, poor little guy.
Oh, are you looking at a spec sheet?
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia entry for it, but
Yeah, terrible phone.
oh my god.
And what's worse is a lot of the YouTubers that reviewed this thing that people go to find out about this kind of stuff, they said the experience was actually kind of cool, but only as a novelty,
Yeah, yeah, it
right?
wasn't usable in like a daily circumstance, but it's something cool that someone did, not
So,
particularly useful.
right, right. And actually, I think there was a layer over the screen that made it not as clear as normal LCDs
Oh,
when you weren't using the 3D effect because you could turn it off, right, if you
yeah.
didn't want to use it. But I think there was like this filtering layer over the screen or something that made everything look a little blurry. that
Weird.
people really didn't like either.
Well, I bet that was how they were able to, because it's probably something to do with refresh rates, and you know those old like holographic like tags or like cards or
Oh
whatnot.
yeah.
And they probably use something similar to that, where you like offset the image a certain amount and it reacted with that layer and made it look 3D. Is my guess.
Did I think I saw LG. Now LG still makes TVs, of
Oh
course,
yeah,
because they're like the king of
I
TVs,
have
right?
an LG TV. Love it.
You have is it an OLED TV or is
Yep,
it
it's an
one of their?
old. It's an OLED.
Oh, very nice,
Oh
very nice.
yeah, it's thin like a piece of paper. I was so scared when I moved to my apartment. I had that thing like strapped down because I'm just like, I do not want to break this TV. This thing is beautiful, but also really scary because it's so light.
Well, the cool thing about OLEDs is they're a little bit flexible, right, compared to
Yeah,
LCDs. But I have an LG TV as well. I think it's just from 2015 before they went to OLED.
yeah. Well, OLED's still a pretty new technology in the grand scheme of things.
But you mentioned the variable refresh rate technology,
Yeah.
and I think I remember seeing a video. Maybe it was like on YouTube Shorts, or maybe it was an article. LG made a 3D TV
Hmm.
in 2023, I think. Maybe it was last year, but it was very recently,
Hmm.
where it was basically two interlaced screens running at different refresh rates
Oh my God,
to give you the 3D effect.
that hurts my eyes just thinking about it.
I know, right? But people said it was really cool.
Really?
People said it was honestly it if LG is making a 3D TV in 2022 or 2023, they gotta make it good in order to make it in any way desirable.
Absolutely, absolutely, because you have so much competition like everywhere else in terms of resolution and image quality and just like true to color and yada yada yada. And if you're gonna put 3D in a TV, you better make sure it knocks someone's socks off.
Especially because everyone knows 3D TVs died in like 2013.
Yeah, because they were terrible. But
Oh
display
man.
technology has come a good ways from then.
Yeah, it has. It has. I just don't know if people are ready for 3D TVs again.
Don't know if they're ready to get their hearts broken again.
Well, the concept of 3D TVs, I don't know. I never experienced this crazy LG TV, right? But I have experienced the 3D TVs of years past.
Hmm.
And the 3D effect was nauseating,
Yep.
sure, but it was coming out of the screen and it was like elements like that could come into your room and out
Yeah.
of your TV and stuff like that. It was really cool as a concept. So if they could make that visually more comfortable, I think that that is a cool concept.
Yeah.
If it's just looking through a window like the Amazon Fire Phone, then I don't think people are going to buy into it too much.
Yeah. I would like to demo one. I mean, I doubt I ever will be able to, but if I walked by it at like Best Buy or whatever, I would definitely give it a shot and see what it's like.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The 3D TVs are when people hear 3D TV, they kind of cringe a
Oh,
little bit.
not even a little bit. Like people are just like, ugh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, so as with anything, sometimes old things get brought back and are implemented better and do their job better. So
Right.
maybe this is a 3D renaissance.
Some things are just ahead of their time
Yep,
and the technology can't handle it.
yep. And now with I mean the graphics processors in TVs nowadays are absolutely astounding.
Oh yeah. I just wish the actual the processors running the operating systems were better.
Yeah, that's why I don't care how good of a TV you have. I will never use the built-in smart functionality because
I
it's
know you almost have to buy an
it's
external device.
always subpar and there's nothing you can do about it. Like but like if you get like like an Amazon Fire Stick, or I have a Google Chromecast home TV. If those get slow, you just buy a new one. You hook it up and you're good to go. You can't do that with a TV. You can't replace that part of the TV because it's. I've only ever seen them fully integrated into the hardware.
I think the best operating system built into a TV I've used is Samsung's, but even then, their app support is terrible.
Yeah, but
So it's not worth using.
yeah, and it's kind of hard because almost every TV runs its own flavor of operating system. So, like Samsung, I'm pretty sure has the Tizen operating system,
Yep.
which they run on their watch and whatnot. So they have a little more use case, but for all of these app developers to go through and make like a Samsung TV, an LG TV, a Vizio TV version of their app for just a handful of their consumers is like the cost benefits are not great.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And not to mention, most of those TVs don't get really any software updates ever.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's kind of like cars that aren't Teslas. Like I have a 2018 Subaru Forester, and it's a nice car, but if it got some software updates for like some of the infotainment system and whatnot, which is totally plausible. Like the newer models have the exact same infotainment system, just running a different software version, basically, and it's better. Like why?
Technology in cars is always overlooked.
I know. It just bothers me
Always.
because you would think these giant behemoths that we buy and spend thousands upon tens of thousands of dollars on, you would think they would get an update like every once in a while.
An update. I wish they would just run okay to begin with.
That's
I wish they
fair.
would be half decent. I don't want pressure sensitive screens anymore.
Yeah.
I don't I this isn't my Nintendo DS we're talking about. I spent $10,000 on a car.
That's fair. Yeah, car infotainment systems are not great, and even like the nice ones, like Tesla's is kind of an exception, but that's because you're basically running a full PC under the hood. Um, but I know my friend has a Toyota Prius. I think it's a 2022. It's a 22 or a 21. It's really very new, but it has one of those giant tablets in the middle that like a Tesla where you have all your climate control and navigation and whatnot all there. That thing
Look,
is
if it's responsive
it's
and it
not.
works well, then I don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not responsive. Like you press something, it does a little chirp, and you gotta wait a couple seconds for something to actually happen. But it's like that on pretty much all cars, unfortunately.
So basically we're stuck with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay until
Somewhat.
auto manufacturers finally get it in their heads that we want decent technology inside of our cars.
Yeah.
I think I think a smartphone processor from 2015 would be just fine to run the basic software inside of these cars and it would actually be somewhat good, but they won't do it.
Well, see, there's something to be said for I feel like cars almost need two brains. They need like an engine control unit that just handles the operation of the car's like important systems, like the engine and timing and everything like that.
Right.
And then there should be like a secondary one that runs like the infotainment system. That's more. It's less precision driven, like a engine control unit, where it's just meant to execute this code very efficiently and monitor all these dynamics and whatnot. I I think we're just trying to pack too much into one section of a car. I think we need to split that in order to be able to give a more robust uh, experience.
Which is kind of what I think Tesla has realized and a bunch of the
Yeah,
other electric car manufacturers like
yeah,
Rivian and stuff like that. But Yeah, technology in cars is so overlooked. I think it would be so easy to like standardize Android Auto like it is in like Roku is in
Yeah,
TVs or Android TV is. It would be so easy to just put that in all of the cars that choose to be on that standard
yeah,
and have a set of requirements in place as per what minimum processing power you need to run those systems. Then it would be integrated with your car so you could have all of your fan control and
hmm
climate control and all of that stuff. And then you would actually have a decent processor to run your infotainment as well.
yeah. That brings up a good point. Going back to the European Union making things more standardized and whatnot. I wonder if this car standardization may be coming down the pipeline to just kind of get everyone on like a standard, like, okay, car infotainment systems should all be like using this like open source package or whatever, or like, and should be able to support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and blah blah blah. Like there's a set of standards and hardware like support type thing.
I guess I'm not sure what you mean.
So, I mean, when it comes to car infotainment systems, it's definitely a kind of free for all. Like everyone makes their own thing with their own chips.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then Android Auto and Apple CarPlay have to support all these varying hardware configurations and different SoCs and whatnot.
That's true. I didn't really think about that.
But if you said, hey, there's going to be a standard car like infotainment operating system, and you have to use this hardware at least, you can use like you have to use ones that are like X capable. Like they have to be multi-threaded, and they have to have at least like an eGPU or a dedicated GPU or something like that. Like just a set of standard hardware requirements in order to run a more standard software across the board for just infotainment and like climate control and whatnot.
Absolutely. That would, in a perfect world, I think that would be absolutely incredible. It should be already, but it's not.
But
It's 20, almost 2025 now, and I think we should have like heads up displays on our cars, but you know.
we're getting there, but once again, the whole cars and technology are always been kind of one of those things where they're kind of opposing forces in a way because car manufacturers don't want to change what they're doing too much, but they want to give you new features so you buy a new car. So they end up using older stuff that's, I guess, I think of it kind of like NASA, how NASA uses like all these old slow processors and whatnot, but are like they've been proven to be resistant against like radiation in space and unshielded and whatnot and are durable, which makes sense. But as the was it Ingenuity? Oh my gosh, what was the flying rover that got sent to Mars?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Oh, heaven's sakes. Mars. It wasn't a rover. Mars helicopter. Ingenuity. Yeah, that helicopter was made completely with off the shelf consumer parts. Like none of it was NASA space rated or anything. And that thing,
Really?
yeah, it was all off. Like that's what it was built to demonstrate was like, hey, you can take off the shelf consumer products, put them into a package, and send it off into space, and it will work.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
So basically, because for the average consumer listening to this, all they heard you say is I could do that myself.
yeah,
I could go and buy stuff myself and go to
yeah.
space.
Literally, like for because the Ingenuity space helicopter talked with the Mars rover, um, and or the new Mars rover, and it used a very common communication protocol called Zigbee. So literally, like you can look up on Amazon or Alibaba or anything. You can go and get like something that talks with Zigbee, and it just has Sony lithium-ion batteries and just normal like
That is absolutely crazy.
yeah, and they were thinking it was gonna last like 3 flights or something, and the thing's done. What is it? It's like 20 something or what? Oh, I'm sorry, 54 flights as of
Oh my god!
yeah, yeah. It has like outlived anyone's expectation of it. Yeah, flight as of August 2nd, according to the NASA or Mars.nasa.gov, there they had 54 flights under its belt with at 24.62 seconds in the air at 16 feet. And
Well, good for it.
yeah, it it just goes to show that a lot of stuff doesn't necessarily need to handle all the toughest conditions to totally work in those conditions type thing. And I think that may be something holding car manufacturers back because it's like, well, how do we know this won't fail type thing.
Well, maybe it has to do with planned obsolescence as
It
well,
it
going back to that,
it could.
because car manufacturers want to sell more cars, right?
Hmm.
And like we know, cars are made out of more plastic and more, shall we say, disposable, for lack of a better word, materials
Yeah.
than ever before.
Yeah.
So, why would you put a really nice infotainment system in there if it's just meant to be, junked in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's fair. That's very fair. That's a good point.
Even on nice cars, even on nice cars like luxury, fancy, really high end stuff, the infotainment systems aren't great in them. But you also hear about a lot of the problems with those cars. Yeah, every
Yeah.
Audi owner has their Audi problems. Every BMW owner has the BMW problems.
Yep. That's true.
So I think it all plays hand in hand and just comes out terrible for the end user.
Oh yeah, because it's all about selling more. Who cares if you're selling good products? You just want to sell more of them, and people
All
buy
right.
them.
Well, we've been recording for about 45 minutes now, so I want to bring it back to ground level and just close out with a few uh, topics that are a bit more digestible, should I say. So I know that you don't keep up with YouTube too much, but have you heard about the controversy that Linus Tech Tips is in right now?
No, fill me in.
You know who Linus
Yeah,
is, though.
yeah, yeah.
So
Our favorite Canadian.
yeah, yeah. So Linus is in a lot of hot water right now. Basically, they came out with a video last week apologizing, saying they're not making any more videos for a couple of weeks at least.
Oh, jeez.
They of course have stuff like in the bank that they can release,
Yeah.
but people are getting sick of the misinformation
Oh,
that Linus is putting in his videos. And to be fair, he does fix all of that stuff, but he's taking a little longer than necessary to fix them. He's also said a few things about the losses on his business that are not agreeable. Like, I was watching his podcast the other day, and he said a $250 PC part that a manufacturer let me test. Losing that is negligible to a $1 million business or
oh
whatever
yeah,
his media group is worth. And of course that's true, but also, like, come on, man.
yeah.
Really? You're gonna screw over the manufacturer and misinform all of your viewers just to write it off as a business expense?
Yeah, but let's be honest. He doesn't. He probably doesn't even pay for half the parts he uses in his videos. Like,
No, that's true. That's true. But the thing that kicked all of this off is that he got a custom water block, right,
Ugh.
for the 4090,
Okay.
the RTX 4090. He put it on a 3080 and
Okay.
said the water block was terrible.
Well, yeah, it's not made for that.
Exactly, exactly. But then here's the thing. He took that water block. Now I don't know all the details, and this sounds really bad,
Okay.
and I don't mean to like misinform all our viewers or anything. For any of you listening, I'm not trying to make Linus sound bad or anything. This is just what I've heard, and these are just the things that I have put together from my research. Linus took that water block and some business mishaps happened, and he ended up auctioning off that water block and selling it to somebody without the manufacturer's notice. This water block was a prototype, and they never told the manufacturer.
Oh, yeah, that should violate because I'm guessing they have some sort of non-disclosure agreement or like don't sell this type thing. Like this is just for in-house use and for
Yep.
your videos type thing, or at least you would assume so. But
So not only did he use it on the wrong hardware and then decide that it wasn't a good product because it wasn't working correctly, uh, he also got rid of that product, which was a prototype,
yeah,
without the manufacturer's consent.
yeah, that's some dicey stuff.
Yeah. So I honestly think a few people at the Linus Media Group lost their jobs.
Yep.
I think a lot of familiar faces we aren't going to see anymore. And people aren't happy with Linus.
Yeah.
He has stopped making videos for a few weeks, and it's pretty messy, man.
Yeah. Well, what's the saying? The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Linus is almost a household name. Like you can say Linus Tech Tips, and almost a vast majority of people have heard someone say it.
Right. Not even tech enthusiasts or
Yeah.
people who are interested in PCs or anything like that. It's Linus has been around for over 10 years on the platform.
Hmm.
He's been in almost every genre you can think of.
Hmm.
And man, it's kind of heartbreaking to see one of your household names, like you said, go down like that.
Yeah. But
I got to be honest, I considered unsubscribing from him because of it.
yeah. And you know, what's the saying? Never meet your heroes, because like we're all human, we're all flawed, we're all imperfect. Even no matter what, when it boils down to it, we are imperfect creatures, and we make mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. In any case, Linus, if there's any small chance that you're listening to this podcast or a clip of this podcast, I hope you're doing all right, man. I've watched your videos for a long time. I'm sure a lot of us in this space have, and we don't want to see you go anywhere. Just get a little bit better about the way you handle these situations, okay?
There's our plea to cast out into the universe.
The last little topic I want to get out of the way here, just because I think it's fun. Cortana is officially dead
Oh, thank Jesus God. Oh,
on every platform, all Windows, everywhere. It's all dead.
good. They finally
Unless
admitted
unless
defeat.
you haven't updated to get rid of Cortana and it's still there, then I'm sorry, but Cortana is officially dead everywhere.
I'm surprised they didn't make it like a retroactive upgrade where, like, what was it? There was something that got removed from Windows, and you didn't have to update to the latest version of the operating system for it to be removed. I forget what it was, but I'm surprised they didn't do that for Cortana. Like, literally go through and erase her from all current and previous versions of Windows.
Well, because there is like a very minute, small percentage of people who actually use Cortana for
Really?
like this one or two small things that she can do, right? So they want to be able to give people time to.
What can
migrate
she
off
do?
of then.
Like,
Yeah, well, I don't freaking know, man. I don't use Cortana,
uh,
but there is a small percentage of people who actually do use Cortana.
that's 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 weird. I don't know what other word to use, but I did not
Well,
expect that.
is there another voice assistant that integrates with Windows? Probably not.
You
I'm sure.
you can.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to step out of line here, but I'm sure that people who can't necessarily use a keyboard or something that well
Mhm.
use Cortana quite a bit.
Maybe, but even then, like she didn't understand what you were asking most of the time. So like
That's true, but
that's why I just don't know like who would use it because it's not like it's not even good for people that like need some sort of visual or audio like accessibility settings because she can't really understand anything. So maybe there's some proprietary code or something somewhere in the Microsoft or some sort of project that uses her somehow and they are trying to get rid of it. I don't know. That's a lot of speculation. So don't quote me on
yeah.
anything. But
In any case, she's gone. She's dead. We're all happy about it.
yes, yes.
And R.I.P. Cortana, you were there for a long time, and you were absolutely useless. No, no. Sorry. Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
It was a good bar as to how bad a voice assistant could be.
I don't think we can get any worse than S voice.
That's fair. That's very fair. But, running on phone hardware versus PC hardware, which is leagues better.
Well, if you've stuck around this long in the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Go ahead and tell me down below what your favorite voice assistant is and what your least favorite voice assistant is. I hope that 90% of them is going to be Cortana. Jared, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. I hope you had fun talking with me today. Is there anything you want to say to the world before we sign off?
No, it was fun. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited to maybe do more if this one goes okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm happy to have you on the podcast more often.
Cool.
All right, well, thanks for listening or watching if you are, and check out my videos.